Defining an accessible world. VIP tech job. Time to act. Lefteris, Greece.
You're going to cut that out, right?
Co-funded by the Erasmus Plus program. Tourists are visiting the Alhambra in Granada. Vicky, Greece.
To me, a world like fully accessible for the visually impaired would be a world where anyone could be free to fully express themselves, but also to be able to reach their full potential without having to put extra effort compared to the rest of the society, I guess.
Yusri, Belgium.
First of all, I believe it's a world where you, first of all, don't have to prove yourself extra just because of the fact that you're blind.
Lefteris, Greece.
A totally accessible world is a world where every person is free to be themselves and experience their own reality.
Participants to the VIP Tech Job and to the VIP Tech Fair from Granada are gathered in a room, sitting around a table. They discuss joyfully. Ibrahim, Belgium.
So for me, a world 100% accessible would be a world where people have the knowledge of what is to be blind. Because the problem here now is like people don't know and they try to guess. So it's not like mean from them, but the fact that they try to guess is making them wrong, because the sight is taking 50% of a life of a normal sighted people, let's say. So when you try to be sighted and you say, okay, if I remove the fact that I could see, how could be my life? Like, they don't really think that a lot of things are possible.
J, Italy.
I honestly think that the first step to achieve this totally accessible future in the job market could be the awareness. Because if people, and with people I mean employers and even co-workers, were more aware of what are our capacities as visually impaired people and what we can do and what we cannot do, but we are very willing to try to do, then, only then we can talk about accessibility.
Gianluca, Italy.
Blind people should know what they need and should say it with not being afraid of not being understood or misunderstood, you know what I mean?
Ibrahim, Jay, and the other participants discuss in groups of 2 or 3. Anna, Spain. Well, for me, it should have 2 fundamental aspects. The first is that there should be more jobs for people with disabilities who have a higher qualification. Because so far, what I have found is that many times, there are many jobs for people with disabilities, but many of them they don't require training. So I think, well, in general, everyone has it more complicated. Often people with more training have it more complicated. But in particular, people with disabilities have it more complicated. And then, on the other hand, that the interviewer would not look so much at whether a person has a disability or not. That they would value more the attitude, the knowledge, and all that. Gianluca, Italy.
So I would say that the benefit wouldn't only be for the blind, but also for everybody. Because, first of all, before being blind, the visually impaired people are people, and people can have abilities, talents, and they know things. They know how to do things their own way, maybe a different way than others. But it's something that even the quote-unquote sighted, or, you know, we use this word nowadays, like abled people, you know, can benefit from.
Irene, Spain. The main benefit of an inclusive environment is a much more comfortable workplace. For me and for all people with functional diversity, in addition to a better adaptation of the jobs and better functionality for everyone, both for the company and for people with disabilities. The blue sky is overlooking the Alhambra. Vicky, Greece.
Having more people that work or that are able to work, then that means, less people unemployed, etc. So I don't think I really want to focus on that. But I think the aspect of having more people bringing different ideas, perspectives, and experiences into the workplace, that it would definitely create better products, better services, and overall like a more inclusive experience even outside of the work place and the job market.
The question directs me towards why we should choose for spaces to be accessible. What's in it for the system in that? I don't care what the system has to gain, they should be accessible at all times, so let them be. That's the bottom line.
Sitting at the table, Vicky talks seriously to the participants. Gianluca gives an interview on a computer. Angeliki, Greece.
The VIPTech Job Time to Act created a toolbox, a series of podcasts, and a documentary alongside a guide on how to create your own DIY bio videos. The choice that we made was dual, I think. The first concept that we wanted to relate with had to do with the fact that we wanted people to have access to actual tools that can help them get into the realistic job market, and to also get employers to be part of that process as well, because we recognize that it's not only people with visual impairments and organizations that work with people with disabilities that are interested in employing people with disabilities, but also employers themselves. And then we had the podcasts because we wanted people to be inspired and to actually get to know more about what actually happens by the people that are already inside of this new reality, while the documentary aims to get the word out, to reach as many people as possible. And I think that what we did here in Granada has actually gotten us into a point that we can start talking about a world that transcends the concept of equality and fights for equity.
Jay.
Well, I think that this kind of project really helps a lot because besides giving many useful tips, they also, not many people have had experience in job market, for example. So this kind of project can really help people building some kind of self-confidence. And I think it's really important for visually impaired people because not many of them are that confident.
Roscoe, Spain.
In my opinion, the first and the most important key point in the project was the involvement of the participants from the very beginning, because we learned from them, at least in my case. Now I know, for example, how to develop a fully accessible learning platform. It wasn't like this before, and I learned about their capacities and their willingness to work and to cooperate with society.
Standing in the room, Fresca speaks to the participants. Jay is laughing. Yusri, Belgium.
I think it was very interesting to see how we all are coming from different countries, but in many ways have the same struggles, and also that things are slightly different at the same time. I was very inspired by the way how there were different thinkings. For example, if we were talking about the CVs today, how people were seeing, for example, the way how you should implement blindness in that, and also the way how people have different methodics to just try to fight for their job and live their life. In this project, I think there was a very good balance between, testing a platform, getting the feedback to improve that for you guys, but at the same time keeping us entertained with cool activities, icebreakers, interesting podcasts. So I think I think it could be improved, and I even believe in a training course that could combine these things and that could last for longer.
Lefteris, Greece.
What I've enjoyed most these days is that I've met a lot of nice and likable people. and I was prompted to think about a lot of many different things.
Standing in the room, Ibrahim and Yusri take part in an exercise supervised by a woman, Anke, Belgium, the supervisor.
We finally managed to gather all the tools that they have been previously developed under one and only umbrella, which is the website. And the website is fully accessible and addresses all stakeholders. So young visually impaired looking for a job, but also supported employment specialists and all sorts of stakeholders who are interested maybe in hiring people with disabilities.
Sandra, Spain. Well, I think that of course it helps. Because the first thing that helps is to feel that you are not alone in a situation that is often complicated by a simple blindness. Which I say simple because it is the only difference we have with respect to another person. And of course, in that sense, you don't feel that you are alone. You see that there are more people who suffer and who are happy, even with that problem. And apart from that, society sees that we exist, that we are valid, and that the only difference we have is that we cannot see, but that we are prepared, just like any other young person or any other adult. Sitting at the table, Yusri talks to the others. A female participant answers to an interview. Selma, Belgium, the female participant.
What I learned a lot actually from different experiences of other people. I learned, and it was very interesting. And how to do like interviews, it was very interesting as well. And there were many podcast sources I didn't know. Really, it was very impressive for me that there are many sources I can benefit. I didn't know. It was very good for me. And what we should include more, I would like to actually include also employers. So it should be very interesting to see their expectations as well, what they think, what they want, and we should talk. It would be more interactive and nice, actually.
I found very interesting and helpful that there's a platform created for not only educational purposes, but also to connect employers and employees. And generally, I think that although these kind of projects are very nice and they're very, when they aim towards blind people, they could always be helpful. But I think if they were more focused towards the rest of the society, because I think that's where the work needs to be done. I don't think pushing disabled people being better and better and better is a solution, because in some point the rest have to actually do the work and meet us in the middle.
Sarah, Italy.
We should focus more on the regulations. So, for example, national and international regulation, because I think that, for example, for a more accessible world, we should have really clear and also original regulation and laws to support VIPs. Finally, I think that this Erasmus Plus project will help VIPs because we really focus on the importance of diversity and solidarity, because we see diversity as an added value.
The Alhambra is nestled among trees. In the room, two men are in a deep conversation. Michael, Italy, one of them.
The first challenge, that for me is more important, is to make employers and VIPs understand let's say, the change of mindset with respect to the job market. On the other hand, the second one that I think is relevant is to have an inclusive work environment where everyone can contribute with respect to their, let's say, expectations.
Anna, Spain. Well, first of all, for people with disabilities, it makes them feel more useful, doesn't it? Because being able to work and have your own money, I think that gives you autonomy and raises your self-esteem and all that. At least that's what happened to me during the little period I worked, the 2 weeks I worked at the Institute. Ibrahim.
I would like to add personally that I want to thank all the people who are doing things to make it accessible, because you have people who are now thinking about it, you have people who are giving a chance. Like for me during COVID, I had a person that I helped for a platform, and he told me, I'm really impressed the way you do your things. Like I shared my screen and he saw that. It was really like through a Zoom or something similar. And just by that, he was interested in, and he gave me the possibility during COVID to work for him in this field.
Ibrahim and Michael discuss. The white houses of Granada are surrounded by mountains. Andrew, Spain.
The project here, this is a stepping stone for future activities and future things, and the energy between the people that participated in both the previous project and this project gives all of us that working on this project more encouragement and motivation to go and fight harder and do more to make some change in this society and make it a better place for all of us to live.
Anka, Belgium.
The future will tell us what will happen with the project, but in my opinion, I think that the most important feature, it stands in the partnership, the organizations that have created and built this project, because it is a true representation of what accessibility could mean in real life. There is only one partner who really deals with visual impairment, generally. All the others represent the civil society. So this is a true impact. I think that it's a sort of good practice, if I dare to say, for other associations for the future.
Defining an Accessible World, produced by the VIP Tech Job Time to Act Project Consortium. Participated in order of appearance: Vasiliki Ago, Yusri Mesdubi, Eleftherios Liakos, Ibrahim Tamditi, Francesca Sebasta, Gianluca Apollaro, Ana Cristina Perez Belmonte, Irene Cebrian Moreno, Angeliki Giannakopoulou, Francisco Hurtado, Anka David, Sandra Cristel Fernandez Peregrina, Selma Zingine, Sarah Porta, Michael Pellegrino, Andrew Barry. The European Commission's support for the production of this publication does not constitute an endorsement of the contents, which reflects the views only of the authors, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use which may be made of the information contained therein. Audio description: PAF.